Okay, when you solve inequalities, you have to remember that when you multiply or divide by a negative number, you need to switch the inequality sign. It's also called switch the direction, the sense of the inequality. So to switch the sense of the inequality means when you have less than, make it to greater than. If you have less, greater than or equal to, change it to less than or equal to. You're changing the direction of the inequality. Now the reason why is I'm going to show you examples. So if you have -1, 0, 1, 2. These are all written in order from least to greatest. However, if you multiply all of these numbers by -1, now you have 1, 0, -1, -2. You can't keep the inequalities going in the same direction. They would actually switch because 0 is less than 1, 0 is greater than -1, -1 is greater than -2. So when you multiply or divide by a negative, you have to switch the sense of the inequality. Okay, letter A. To solve for x, this is a division problem, so the inverse operation of division is multiply. So I have to multiply both sides by -4. So I'm going to get x is greater, because this changed my sense because I multiplied by a negative, than 48. So I'm going to graph this on the number line. It's going to be an open dot at 48, shaded to the right because it's greater. So if I do interval notation, it's starting at 48 and not including 48, and it goes to infinity. Okay, letter B, what I'm going to do is do the distributive property. So 2x minus 10 is less than or equal to -3x plus 2. Then I'm going to get my x's on the same side. So I'm going to add 3x. So 5x minus 10 is less than or equal to 2. Then I'm going to add 10. So 5x is less than or equal to 12. Then divide both sides by 5. X is less than or equal to 12/5. So if I graph it, it's going to be a closed dot at 12/5. And I'm going to shade to the left because it's less than. These numbers are less than 12/5. Now if I write an interval notation, on the number line, it goes all the way to -infinity from left to right. So it's starting at -infinity, and it's stopping at 12/5, but it includes 12/5, so I need to put a bracket. I never multiplied or divided by a negative number, so I didn't have to change the sense of the inequality. Okay, letter C. Remember, if you have fractions like this, I would clear fractions. So you look at the denominators, and I'm going to multiply by the least common multiple of denominator. So I'm going to multiply by 6. You could also multiply by 12 or 18. So I'm multiplying both sides by 6, the left-hand side and the right-hand side, to keep the equation balanced. So when I do that, remember a fraction is just multiplying and dividing. So I do 6, divide it by 2, which is 3, times -1. So that's going to be -3x. Then I do 6, divide it by 3, which is 2, times -5, which is -10. Less than 6 divided by 3, which is 2, times 2 is 4. And then 6 divided by 6 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. So it becomes a much easier inequality to solve. So now I'm going to add 10 to each side. So I have -3x is less than 15. And then I'm going to divide by negative. So remember, when you divide by negative, you got to change the sense of the inequality. So now it's going to turn into greater than -5. So it's going to be an open circle at -5, shaded to the right. So if you're going to use inequality notation, it's starting from the left. It starts at -5, but it doesn't include -5, and it goes to infinity. Okay, letter D. I'm going to combine like terms, so I have -x is greater than -x plus 1. Now I'm going to get my x's on the same side, so I'm going to add x. So I have 0 is greater than 1. Okay, my variable dropped out. 0 is greater than 1 is a false statement. So when it's a false statement, there is no solution. There's no number that you could plug in for x that's going to make that true. So it's no solution. Just like we had equations that had no solutions, we could have inequalities with no solutions. Okay, then E. If you have fractions like this, I would clear fractions. So because when you cross multiplying, you could maybe put the wrong expression on the left or right hand side, and that makes a difference with inequalities. So I am just going to clear fractions by multiplying the left hand side by 12 and the right hand side by 12. So the left hand side is going to be 12 fourths is 3. So it's going to be 3 times the quantity, -2x minus 3. And the right-hand side is just going to be 12 divided by 3, which is 4. When I do the distributive property, I'm going to get -6x minus 9 is less than 4. Then I'm going to add 9. So -6x is less than 13. Now I'm dividing both sides by a negative. So I have to switch the direction of the inequality. So it's x, or the sense, is greater than -13.6. This is going to be an open dot because it doesn't include it. And you're going to shade to the right. And then if I'm doing inequality notation, it starts at -13.6 and goes all the way to infinity. Okay, then this one, I'm going to do the distributive property. So it's 4x plus 32 is greater than 4x plus 2. So I get my 4x's on the same side. So I have 32 is greater than or equal to 2. My variables dropped out, and I get something that is a true statement. So in this case, it's going to be all real numbers. Or you can write it like this: all real numbers. I don't really want to write infinite solution because technically all of these inequalities are infinite numbers of solutions. So you want to write all real numbers. Okay, then you can also have word problems. So here's a few word problems. Hermione wants no less than $200 by December 25th. She makes $8 an hour babysitting and already has $32. How many hours will she have to babysit before she gets her $200? So if I look for my variable, how many hours, that's going to be H, and no less than 200. So if I put my inequality symbol 200, no less than it, so I want to have at least $200 is going to be my expression. So if I already have 32 and I make $8 an hour, this is going to be my inequality. So now I'm going to subtract 32 from each side. So 8h is greater than or equal to 200 minus 32, which is 168. So I'm going to divide both sides by 8. So I get h is at least 21. So h is greater than or equal to 21 hours. I want to make sure I write with a unit. Okay, B. Ron wants to have at least a 90% test average in class. So at least a 90%. He scored an 85, a 92, and a 78, and an 89 in his first 4 tests. What does he have to score on the next test in order to have an average of at least 90? So this expression needs to be at least 90. Now the key thing is average. So you have to know a little bit about how to find an average. So to find an average, what you do is you add up all the numbers in the data set and you divide by how many numbers there are. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, but he's got his 5th test, next test. So technically we're going to have 5 tests. So we're going to let T be the last test. So we're going to have 85 plus 92 plus 78 plus 89, should have left more room, plus X all over 5 has to be at least greater than or equal to 90. Now this expression on the left-hand side represents how to find the average of 5 tests. Even though we're given 4 scores, we actually have 5 tests because of the next test. So to solve this, I'm going to multiply both sides by 5. And these 5s are going to cancel out. So over here is going to be 450 because that's 90 times 5. And then I'm going to add up these 4 numbers. So when I add up 85 plus 92 plus 78 plus 89, I get 344. So this is 344 plus X is greater than 450. Then I'm going to do 450 minus 344 and get 106. So he has to score at least 106%. So we know that's not going to happen without a large amount of extra credit. And the last one, Hogwarts is selling mugs for $3 each. They have to pay $50 in startup costs to make mugs, plus 150 per mug. How many mugs must they sell in order to turn a profit? So I'm going to let how many mugs be my variable. Must they sell in order to turn a profit? So there's a couple different ways that you can do this. So I'm going to do the cost or the money they make on the right hand side and the money that they spend on the left hand side. So for in order to turn a profit, you need to make more money than you spend. So making has to be more than spending. So if we're selling mugs for $3 each, we're going to make $3 per mug. If we have to pay $50 in startup costs just to make any mugs, it's going to be 50 plus, you got to spend $1.50 to make a mug. So maybe the mugs cost $1.50 when you buy them wholesale. So now this represents how much it costs to make the mugs, and this is the money that you make. So the more mugs that you sell, probably the more money that you're going to make, right? So we're going to solve for M, so we're going to subtract 1.5 mugs from each side. So I have 50 is less than or equal to 1.5 mugs. Divide 50 by 1.5. So do 50 divided by 1.5, and you get 33.3 repeating. So I don't want to write a repeating mug, so I'm going to write you have to sell at least. So if you think about it, I don't want to do 30. I don't want to round to 33 because even if I do 33, I'm still not going to make more than I spend. So I'm going to round this up to 34 mugs.